Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Seattle Sports Podcast. My name is Robbie Gavin, and with me each and every week, the one, the only, Gavin Ream. What's up, Gav?
Nothing much, man. Another day, another donut. Ready to roll, talk some baseball. We got a good special guest today. Real excited.
Do. We've got a great guest. We're excited to talk with Logan Rinehart, who's a relief pitcher prospect for the Seattle Mariners. Went to California Baptist University, where he's a starting pitcher, and then was drafted by the Seattle Mariners in 2019. Since then, he's had one season with the Seattle Mariners due to a pandemic, where he was turned into a reliever in that first season. Posted a 3.38 ERA across 34 innings with 26 punch outs across 18 games in single A and low A baseball. Logan, welcome to the podcast.
How you guys doing? Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you on, man.
Yeah, man. So, Logan, we are now, like a month away, hopefully. I mean, we saw some news about pushback, but you'll probably be reporting to the Cactus League soon. Month away from finally starting baseball again. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm so excited. Can't even put it into words. It's been so long of just training here, and which I love it. I mean, Southern California can't really beat it, but I need to get back on the field, start playing again, start seeing the guys again, and just be back in that atmosphere. Very excited.
Speaking of training and whatnot, what did you do in 2020 to stay fit? Like, how did you stay fit to be ready?
Right. Yeah, no, it was to start off. We kind of doing it a little like backyard, I guess, here. My trainer that me and my brother work with, my brother's in college, so we kind of train together in the off season. And he has a facility that he runs out in San Bernardino, California. And it's half indoor, half outdoor. So technically we could keep it open because we were working out outside. So we were going there, getting our work in 3 to 4 times a week. And then I have a PT that I go to full time as well, down in Orange County, California. And for the most part, she was open. There was a little while where she wasn't. So I wasn't going down there. I was kind of just doing stuff on my own. But for the most part, she's been open. So go down to her 2 or 3 times a week as well. And then just throwing wise, we throw with a guy down in San Diego. So we travel down there a couple times a week. And we do our stuff, get our stuff in. It's all outdoors. So that would never really shut down. So for me personally, I've been super blessed, and like nothing really got really shut down. We were able to kind of get things in, still do our normal routines. So that was great. And then the other thing was when the Mariners called, we kind of had a mini camp in an alternate to our alternate, I guess you could say, in North Carolina, where they sent a couple of us out there. So we went out there, did that for a couple months, which was a blast, had a lot of fun. And then we had the Instructs League. So I've been around it a little bit, but nothing just like a full season. I'm really missing it. But yeah, for the most part, life hasn't changed super much on the training side. We've been blessed to kind of still get stuff in, but definitely had to make some alterations along the way.
Definitely. That's good to hear. I mean, that's you making it seem easy, but it definitely probably was not an easy 2020 experience.
No, it wasn't easy, but like I always say, God has a plan for everything. It was how he had it. Wasn't easy, but we got through it.
Love it.
Well, I wanted to take you a little bit back to in college. You were starting pitcher
right.
for California Baptist University. When you get drafted by the Mariners, you turn into a reliever for the Mariners. Right. What is that conversation like? Is that during draft night where they let you know, hey, we're thinking about drafting you as a reliever, or is it you come into camp and you guys start talking about, hey, what did you think about this? Just been curious on the fan side. We don't really know what those conversations look like.
No, yeah, for sure. So to be honest with you, when I first got drafted, it was just a lot of congratulations, a lot of welcomes. Great. When I got to the facilities and everything, everyone was like the most welcoming, anything you need. It was awesome. Really, really good welcoming experience. I loved it. When I got to Everett, where I started out, it wasn't much of a conversation, to be honest. It's kind of just, hey, we're going to throw you out here and here you go. Sometimes with the starters that are coming out of college, they do put you on kind of an inning restriction, just because you already threw X amount of innings in college. They don't want to throw you too much. So like you saw that with guys like Kirby and the rest of them, they were kind of on just a 2-inning start stint, and then that's all they would do.
Yeah.
So for me, they kind of just said, hey, you're going to be in the pen, you're going to relieve for us, you're going to throw 7th, 8th, 9th inning or 2 here and there. We'll kind of control your innings that way, and then that's just really going to be it. And that was pretty much the extent of the conversation. I've relieved once before in summer ball, so it wasn't anything too crazy to me. But there wasn't much dialogue that, hey, are you okay with being a reliever, blah, blah, it's baseball. So you kind of just figure it out as you go. Tweak of a routine here, tweak of a routine there. And it's pretty much, at the end of the day, you're still on the mound pitching against the same hitters, So no, there wasn't much conversation. There was conversation though I finished last year as a reliever. And then this year, well, I guess it's last year now, 2020, when I first got to spring training, there was a conversation though that they wanted me to move back as a starter. So as of right now, I am moved back as a starter. Now that can change very quickly. You never know. But right now, we did have a conversation, talked to the pitching coordinator. He pulled me aside and said, hey, we want to work you starting back in as a starter. How do you feel about that? And of course, I'm okay with whatever they got for me. I'm not super picky. I just like pitching. So that's kind of how that conversation went.
Yeah, that's super interesting. A move to a couple innings here because restrictions, relief to back. Does that change your routine pretty drastically, going from training to be a relief pitcher to training to be a starting pitcher?
It doesn't change it too much, but there is little tweaks you have to make along the way for sure. As a starter, you're on a 5-day routine. So you have the ability to day one after you throw to play catch, 60 feet if you want, or you can long toss it to 300 feet. It's really up to you. And you kind of get the freedom of making your own routine. As a reliever, you don't know when you're going to throw. It could be tonight, it could be tomorrow, it could be tonight and tomorrow. You really never know. So you kind of just have to tweak the routine as in, hey, like I'm going to play 90 feet catch every day. My catch play is kind of going to stay the same. My lifting routine is just going to revolve around when I throw. And I'm pretty much just going to get in what I can when I can get it in. So you're just staying ready at all times to pitch in a game. And for me, I kind of like that. I kind of like the unknown of, hey, you got the 8th head on it. I like getting up, getting ramped and just letting it go for an inning. But I also really like the starter atmosphere as well, kind of understanding like, hey, I get 5 days to create my routine, to create my process that I want to go through. And that ultimately can help me be the best version of myself. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, but for me, I don't try to make it too different, just because if it is really different, then I will tend to struggle. I try to look at it the same and pretty much, hey, one, you got the unknown, you're just going in, and the other, you have the luxury of having 5 days.
Man,
that is quite, there is so much to that, like that people don't know, but that is impressive. I'm curious, Logan, you went out of California Baptist and then into the like low A Everett ball. What was your experience like facing those batters from college to Everett? Like, did you notice a ginormous difference? Did you have to change some stuff up to, stay dominant?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was that much of a difference. A lot of you got to remember too, a lot of the hitters in Everett, which is low A short season, they're younger, right? So they're really aggressive. They want to swing, they want to hack. So really some of the hitters in college, they're a little more polished, juniors, seniors, 20, 22-year-old, maybe even 23-year-olds, where in Everett, they're 18, 19 years old. So I just had to remember, hey, like some of the hitters in college, yeah, they're going to spit on a good 0-2 breaking ball. They're going to spit on a good 0-0 fastball on the outside corner or up at the top of the zone, where some of the hitters in Everett were very free swinging. So I just had to learn, hey, I can get away with pitches that I throw in the zone as long as I make them look hittable, but they're not really hittable, if that makes sense. So like, it's okay to go ahead and bounce the 0-2 breaking ball because you would get a lot of swings on it just because they're younger hitters. Talent level may be way exceed college. They're really, really good hitters. They're just very young. So that's where the thing I kind of had to notice is like, the difference between college and A-ball was pretty much just the level of maturity. In college, you have some mature hitters. They run by a process. You got to remember the coaches are running majority of the team and the swings and the kind of stuff that they're doing. In pro ball, it's a little more relaxed. So the hitters are really just on their own, kind of going up there, figuring things out on their own. So that's where I think coming out of college is kind of a plus when you go into rookie or when you go into short season ball, just because you are that 22, 21-year-old kid, little more maturity, and you kind of understand the zone, the count, kind of how things work. But at the same time, I mean, I've given up plenty of them. You give up a 400-foot bomb because you throw the wrong pitch. And like I said, the talent level is a little different and their bat speed's a little different, and they can put a ball 450 if they want to, So really, it's just understanding that level of maturity and then kind of adapting to it.
That is interesting to just think about all these young top prospects being down there, right? But they're unpolished at the time. So it's like, all right, I'm going to throw you some high heat here because it's going to look nice for you, but it's unhittable.
Right. Exactly. That's where you look at like the guys in the big leagues. I mean, they were not all of them. Some were polished their whole life, but some of them were down there and they were unpolished at one time. And then that's just the kind of sequence that you go through to get to the big leagues. And now, I mean, Mike Trout's friggin' greatest guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So. Go ahead, Gav.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Mike Trout, and that's like, being in the Mariners organization, playing the Angels, that's just got to be scary lining up.
I don't look at one personal player. My goal is just get to the big leagues, have a long career, and just ultimately help my family in the end, and just follow God's plan. But at the same time, being able to face a hitter like Mike Trout or some of the players in the AL West would be really cool. Just because I grew up kind of watching him on TV, and to me, yes, he is the greatest player of our era to watch on TV, So to be able to face a guy like that would be really cool and something that I would cherish. But at the same time, like, I don't look at it like that because I don't want to take away from any of the other players who are in the big leagues, because they're all big leaguers. So at the end of the day, I mean, they can all do some damage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Mike Trout seems to have a vendetta specifically against the Seattle Mariners. So it could be a tough day.
Every time I turn on the game, the guy's hitting a home run. So
absolutely. Hey, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the alternate site that you were sent to and then went down. Like, we heard a lot about this alternate site in Tacoma.
Yep.
With different routines, trying to get at bats in every couple of days, innings, maybe not even having quite enough players to get games in every day. What was your experience like at the alternate site in North Carolina?
Yeah, it was great. It was honestly something that I think there was 10 of us sent out there, 10 to 12 of us sent out there. And it was honestly something that I think we're all going to look back on, hopefully, and say, this changed our careers for the positive. It was just really us 10, us 12. We trained in a little facility in Burlington, North Carolina. And the facility was maybe, 1,500 square feet. Like, it was a tiny little facility. And we had one cage, we had one bullpen, we had a little tiny gym in the back, and we just got after it. It was fun because we created like a brotherhood. We all lived in a hotel together. So we created a brotherhood, and it was just like, hey, let's just compete, be the best who we are with what we got. And it was really cool. We just got the opportunity to kind of have a quote unquote season type atmosphere. So we were pushing each other every day. We were throwing bullpens, we were lifting, doing weighted balls. And then once a week we would head down to Holly Springs, North Carolina, which is about an hour away. And we would face live hitters and we would do game like situations. So we were getting our innings ramped up. We probably threw, I would say 25 each, maybe 30, some of us, innings down there. And pretty much it was like a pro season, just very, very weird pro season. But no, it was fun. We had one of our coaches down there. We call him Turbo. He was great. Some of the strides some of us made in North Carolina was really, really good. And we had literally the whole spectrum. We had 18-year-olds and we had 23-year-olds. So like, we kind of just got to mesh together. We had the new draftees, and we had guys who've been there for 3-4 plus years. So we kind of just got to mesh together and see how each other's routines mesh. how each other's routine's different, and then kind of make one that work together for all of us, and then just strive to be the best. And it was awesome. Like, it was something that I think, like I said, we're all going to look back on. I know we all have gotten closer as friends, as players, as teammates, but definitely as just us in our career, it's going to be something that I think we're going to look back on and think it was a positive for sure. So we were all excited to get out there.
That's great to hear. I think especially, I mean, I've heard a lot of, I don't know if I want to use the word negative, but it's what's coming to mind, but negative thoughts around alternate sites, especially the one in Tacoma last year, just that some guys felt like they didn't get the right work in that they needed. So I think it's just cool to hear, hey, I thought this was a really positive thing for development at the other site. And I'm sure some players did feel like that at Tacoma as well, but that's a cool perspective to hear that. When you guys traveled, were you playing against your own players there, like Mariners prospects, or were you guys traveling and playing against a different team?
No, we were literally just playing against whatever other team's prospects want to show up. So we had guys from the Astros, we had guys from the Cardinals, we had guys from everywhere. And it was literally just, we showed up at this one field called Holly Springs Stadium. It's a big like summer ball stadium out in North Carolina. So we'd show up. They had the TrackMan and the Rapsodo and everything. So that's where we got all of our analytical data. And we would just go out there, usually had like 10 plus hitters, and just face the hitters until we were done and they were done, and we called it a day and did it again next week.
That's cool. You're kind of training for a weekly game to really. And now this is where we get to see the analytics, see the growth. That's actually a pretty cool way to look at it.
Exactly. And that's what was really cool, because we were on a 7-day routine. So instead of 5 days, we'd do 7. We would throw every Tuesday usually, unless rain, then we'd push it a day. But we'd throw every Tuesday, and pretty much we would throw bullpens on every Thursday, or Friday. Yeah, bullpens on every Friday. And we would kind of just go through our week like a normal starter, normal whatever. And Friday, we would really work on the stuff that we needed to work on from the game on Tuesday. And then Tuesday, we would do it again, and then check the analytical report, see what we got better, see what we got worse. And then it was the same thing kind of over and over again for like 7 weeks. But it was really, like I said, it was really good. It was something we're all going to look back on, and it's going to be something that I think is going to help us a lot, because there was strides that were made by some of the younger players, some of the older players, pretty much every player that was there, that before we came in, that was our goal, and Turbo helped us get there and get our goal. And that was something that was really cool.
This is so good to hear, because like Rob said, like there was some, I don't think, like Rob said, negative news, but it's just like we don't know what's really going on, and we haven't heard much from the players of like, hey, do you feel like you made strides? Everyone thinks you need these live practices, you need all these live games to improve. That's not the case.
And
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Not to interrupt you. Those are great. I think it was a little different for us because we did only have 10 to 12 guys. So the atmosphere was just so small and so concentrated that the Mariners were cool in the sense that they kind of told Turbo, the guy that was working with us, like, hey, you kind of just do you go about the camp how you want to go about the camp and see how it rolls. Just because we've never really done anything like that before besides Tacoma, which was a larger group. And so we kind of really got to make the camp the way we wanted it. And we kind of got to mold how we wanted to go through day-to-day life. So I think that's what made it really well for us too. And the Mariners are really good with that. Like whatever plan you have for yourself, whatever you think that's going to get you to the big leagues and have a long lasting career, that's what they want you to do. So being in that atmosphere with 10 to 12 guys and having our own routines, but also having each other to feed off of, I think that's what made it really cool.
Yeah. And we hear a lot about the clubhouse, like how important the clubhouse mentality is and just the team's performance. And that's setting a great foundation for Mariners future, right?
For sure.
All you guys will like rise together, and that's just going to set the future, the mentality. That's, like you said, I think there's gonna be a lot to look back and be like, that helped us step forward as a team. You know? Yeah.
I think for sure. Something that's positive for sure.
Moving current day, what does the next month for you look like? Like, what's the next steps? Where baseball's ramping up in the next month. What is the plan?
Right. Yeah. For me, it's just getting ready. So whatever that looks, some players looks different. Some players take a week off. I know some players go kind of relax. For me, it kind of looks like just continue throwing, continue with my pens, continue getting my arm ready, strengthening my arm. My lifting phase will kind of change. It will go from more of a bulk heavy trying to gain strength, trying to gain weight, to now speed. I want to start moving quicker, moving my body quicker, be really explosive. And then, kind of PT and body therapy and stuff like that kind of stays the same. Just get my body ready and relaxed to go into season. And then throwing wise for me, I'm this off season's been a little different. I had a little procedure done before the season started, or before off season started. Nothing crazy. I'm all good. Just so that been coming back from that has been a little different. My training regimen has been a little different. My workouts have been a little different. So for me now, it's kind of getting back to I'm in full go of normal life and how I normally like to train and throw and do all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's kind of just getting back to normal day-to-day routines of what I like to do. Now I'm free to do it. I've been free to do it for about past month and a half. So that's slowly been coming back. And then really just getting my body healthy, ready, but rested in the same time so that when I do get to Arizona, I know it's going to be a grind for the next 5.5, 6 months, but something I've been looking forward to for a while.
Yeah, going on a year now. When do you show up to Arizona, as if all goes well right now, everything
Right.
plan stays as put, when's that report date?
We're not 100% sure yet. From what I'm hearing from sources, it's anywhere from April 1st to April 5th. So it really depends because big league opening day is April 1st, I think, or April 2nd, somewhere around there. It really depends on the club and their discretion of when they want to get the minor league guys in. As of right now, it really just sounds like whenever the big league guys leave, they're going to give it a couple days, probably clean everything up, and then we're going to report in.
Wow. We were reading the new Passan article that came out yesterday about the alternate site opening up, no AAA season until until vaccinations are out, which they said at least a month. I'm wondering, does that mean that you guys will be down kind of doing an extended spring training until the vaccination comes out and then, well, not comes out, but gets to you guys?
Yeah.
So that you guys can then go and do your single A and double A seasons?
See, that's the thing where I have no clue. Like, that's where I'll just kind of like, what the heck's going on? Because no one really does know. So they could send us out there, and yes, that's very likely we could have an extended spring for a while until vaccinations and stuff come out like that, and then they send us off. That's very well a possibility. But I can also see them maybe just us keeping us here where we're at. So not everyone's going out there and chancing getting sick or chancing of testing positive, and then sending us out once vaccinations and everything else come. So really, I have no clue. I wasn't even aware of that article, so you guys brought it to my attention. Thank you. But I honestly, the way I kind of handle it is I just do my day-to-day routine, day-to-day life, and then when I get the call of finally being for sure, okay, this is what we're doing, then I'll believe it. Because there's so many things being thrown around now that I could definitely see everything you guys say. I could say yes, that's a possibility, because it really is.
That honestly, that's a good way to live this past year. This once I get confirmation, then I'll believe it.
Even when once you get, we got to get there. Like, I've heard confirmations and then it changes. It's like, once I see it, I'll believe
it. Yes, once I'm in my locker in Arizona, then I'll believe it.
I do feel like they could have pretty easily set up where single A and double A seasons are going on at Peoria at the Cactus League, where they could have set it up. Hey, we'll play games against these other 15 teams going on. That way you're just traveling a little circle. You don't have to travel cross country. It does seem a little weird. This article comes out, yesterday. Spring training is going on, and it just kind of sends everything in a whirlwind. Like, we haven't had baseball the past 6 months. It is a little weird.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I thought that could have been a possibility too. I don't know if they're going to go that route. I thought, like I said, I thought it could have been a possibility. But I think they're trying to get everyone back to their affiliates and kind of just try to get life back to quote unquote normal. For however that looks, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have fans in the seats. I really don't know any of that. But no, I thought, like I said, I really think anything is a possibility at this point.
Yeah. And I understand them wanting fans in the seats. It's more fun. And also the minor leagues are so dependent on that revenue.
Right.
Or to survive, that it makes sense that they need fans in the seats. So,
Right.
Logan, I have a question for you. I wanted to hear a little bit about your pitching style, kind of what you've been working on in the off season. Maybe even at the alternate site last year. What pitches you've been working on, and what is your pitching repertoire in general?
So my pitching repertoire, I throw a fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. Pretty standard repertoire. The things I've been working on most for me has been, I kind of became a different pitcher per se last year when I gained some weight, added some different things. My stuff in certain areas got a little better. So we've been kind of just working with that, kind of trying to find how I am as a new pitcher, what kind of my stuff looks as a new pitcher. So for me in North Carolina, we really were just hammering the breaking ball and the slider. Those were two things with kind of my new pitching style that needed to be a little better. So we worked on the shape of the curveball, how we get it more 12-6, how we get it directionally where we want it. And then with the slider, it was more of just adding velo. We wanted to get it from like that 82-ish range to like that 86, 87-ish range. And it's something we accomplished for the most part. Still sometimes goes back to where it was. But out there, we were really working on, one, just commanding the fastball at the top of the zone. And then two, really finding those shapes more so than location with those pitches. And then now kind of when I went to the Instructs League and we did that for the 6 weeks, then it was kind of putting it all together, facing hitters, actually kind of back into a quote unquote league again. Then it was, okay, let's find those shapes, let's find those locations, and let's kind of mold it back all together. But pitching style for me, I'm just an attack mode pitcher. Like I like to be super aggressive. I'm kind of animated. I like to just be on the attack mode at all times. I like to think I got this from Turbo. He kind of told me, hey, I want you to be a savage out there. So I like to think that I'm a savage when I touch the mound.
I love that.
Dude, I want to meet Turbo. Who is this Turbo guy? I want to meet this dude.
His name's John Kraft. He's a great dude. He's one of our pitching coaches. He's awesome.
It sounds pretty standard with kind of the control the zone thing you're talking about. Like, I want to attack this zone. I want to throw, control everything that's going on there.
Right.
When you talk about you were working on your stuff, you mentioned velocity. Was that mostly, or were you working on spin rate a lot as well?
It's kind of all, for me, it was mostly ride, my induced vertical brake. When I got a little velocity tick up, my vertical brake maybe went down a little bit, which we want ultimately average to get like 18 to 22 inches. That would be good for somewhere where I kind of throw from and where I'm at. I was at like 14 to 16 range. So for us, we really started working on, okay, how can we get this ride to be better? So we tried different arm angles, tried different grips on the ball, tried stuff like that. And finally, ultimately, we got into an area where we were pretty happy with it. So now it's just a matter of redoing it and doing it over and over and over again, and understanding that it's a process. Because sometimes the ball just doesn't ride when it comes out of my hand. So just finding a way that I feel comfortable with repeating it. And that was something with the fastball that we really, really hammered. It seems like we got it better, and now I can seem to ride it pretty decent for the most part. But it's just a matter of kind of sticking with the same old process and working on the same things that you want to get better,
Mm.
What's your heater? What are you mid 90s? I was seeing reported.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's about it. I would say anywhere sitting 94, 97, 95, 97. Topped out at 98 something.
Wow.
At what age did you break 90? Was that a memorable day?
When I broke 90 miles an hour?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I didn't start pitching until my senior year of high school. So I was a shortstop all the way up to my senior year, and then college offers weren't really coming in. I wasn't very highly recruited. So me and my dad were like, all right, we got to do something. So we hopped on the mound and see how it was. And I think in my first couple outings, I hit 90. So I don't really remember it, to be honest.
Wow.
I don't know. I've always just grabbed the ball and thrown it as hard as I can. I was really raw, didn't have a lot of mechanics, didn't really have anything, didn't even know how to throw strikes besides just throwing the ball. So I wouldn't say no is very memorable for me, just because I don't remember it really at all. For me, it was more memorable the time that I actually learned how to throw strikes a little bit with my fastball and my curveball. Not really a changeup. I didn't really have a changeup until I got older, just because that was something that was a little difficult for me. My senior year, I struggled. I got better as it went, but I struggled my first couple outings with just finding the zone, throwing the pitches that I want in certain counts. So for me, I would say it's more memorable of learning. And I mean, I still struggle with it today. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but it was more memorable learning how to kind of control the zone a little more, how I want it, rather than just, hey, here's my fastball. I'm going to try to throw it as hard as I can, and you're probably going to hit it just because it's down the middle.
Wow. Not me. I'd be way behind that pitch, but.
So that's pretty crazy. So really, you built up the arm strength just playing shortstop. All of a sudden, you hit the mound. You're like, oh, I'm throwing some gas here, and you start getting some recruited for college ball. Like, that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was very cool. We were in talks with CBU a lot my junior and senior year, and some other schools as well. For being a shortstop, to be honest with you, I couldn't really hit. So I was a pretty decent defensive shortstop. I just couldn't hit worth a lick. It was bad. So pretty much they told me like, hey, we talked. CBU was like, yeah, like you're a pretty good infielder. You just can't really hit. And we like your body. We like everything. So I was like, okay, understand. So I just started getting on the mound, started throwing, seeing how it was. And I wasn't throwing that hard back then. I was 87 to 91, usually probably 88, 91, somewhere around there. But then talk started heating up. CBU started calling back. Some other schools started calling back. And then, I knew I wanted to go to CBU, faith-based school, smaller school. I knew that's where I wanted to go. Just it's expensive. So I needed some incentive to go there. And then finally they called back, and that's pretty much how that story went.
Wow. Just to go back a little bit, because so you go draft days, it's not similar to the NBA draft or the NFL draft. This is spread across a lot more days. What is that process like? How long are you waiting? It probably goes from, I believe is it a 5-day draft? Is it a 3-day draft? 3-day draft. Yep. So what's that process look like for you waiting on the other line for a call?
It was probably one of the most nail biting and hectic times of mine and my family's life. It was, the first day was more just fun. I knew I wasn't going on the first day. First day is usually just the top 2 rounds. I wasn't in that top echelon. And we knew that. So it was more of just watching some of the guys I played with in summer ball, seeing some of their names called, telling them congrats. That was a lot of fun. The next day though, that was rounds, I think 3 through 10, I believe. There was some reports from my agent and a couple other people that there was opportunity to go there. So that was kind of where we started watching. And to be honest, we didn't want to just sit and watch the computer and watch the TV all day, just because that gets very monotonous, and I would have gone insane, to be honest. So we went out to our condo in Palm Springs. We hung out as a family out there. We actually, on the second day of the draft, we went and played a round of golf just so we weren't by the TV. And, we were just kind of waiting on the phone, waiting for something to happen. And we got a call later the second day, towards the 7th or 8th round, from the Mariners. And it was the scout that I was talking to, and he kind of just said, hey, like, be by your phone. This is kind of where I turned you in, blah, blah, blah. By my phone, nothing really happened. So that day ended, 10 rounds ended, got a call from a couple teams that night. Pretty much they were just, be by your phone tomorrow morning. We'll see how it goes. So we started watching in the morning, started cooking breakfast, and then finally it happened in the 16th. So it was nerve wracking, but honestly, it was one of the best days of mine and my family's life. It was nice that I could just be there with them, spend that time with them. My fiance was out there with me. So it was a memorable time, both bad and good.
Man, getting a call in the 7th or 8th, hey, we're coming soon. Eight rounds later. That's
yeah. It's just the way it is. You never really know until you know. So I'm happy with the way it shook out. Like I always say, God has a plan for everything. So I'm happy with how it went. It was just nerve-wracking in those 8 rounds of waiting.
For sure. Rob, should we go to some speed round questions?
Yeah. We've got a couple questions here. Me and Guy will go back and forth. Just
All
a
right.
couple questions that we're curious, more around the game of baseball. Gav, you want to start us off?
Yeah, and we said this one to you right before. So there's reports that the strike zone is going to go automatic.
Yep.
Like no, well, the ump's going to be there to call any glitches. Like if it bounces and goes through the strike zone, obviously a ball.
Right.
But like, what are your thoughts as a pitcher when they're saying it's going to be the strike zone is going to be electronic?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. We had that out in the Instructs League. We were throwing just to the track man, and it's really awkward because you don't have an umpire. And 2, there's like a delay in the system. I'm sure that it would be better, but there's like a delay in the system. So like you throw a pitch and there's 2 strikes on the guy and it's like a good fastball in the outside corner or something. And then you have to wait like 2 seconds. And then the guy behind home plate's like strike or ball. So it's like, it's really awkward. And I know it didn't. It's the same strike zone. For me, felt like the strike zone was a lot smaller. So I kind of like the aspect of human error. I like the aspect of, the umpire calling a ball when it should have been a strike and calling it a strike when it should have been a ball on both sides. I may not like it when I'm on the mound, but ultimately I would hate to kind of see that go. I understand the direction the game's going, but ultimately I'd kind of hate to see it go.
I'm with you on that. Like, I think electronically, maybe like base running, like they can tell you, right. And they do replays and everything like
right.
that. But I like the human error. It's part of the game. It's in every sport. A ref is going to make a mistake or not. Like it's just part of the fun and the thrill.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully something happens, but I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah, they always throw these things in the minors, and they're like, "All right, we'll give this a test, go, and then we'll see if we put it in." If you could change one rule to baseball, what rule would you want to change?
Wow. We kind of did it last year, and I liked it. I would put the DH in both leagues. I like offense, not as a pitcher, obviously, but as a fan, I like watching offense. And I think it just makes some of the teams, one, it gives another person a job. So that's always cool. And it makes the team have a lot more depth. So I would go DH in both leagues.
I like that too. I mean, no offense to some pitchers, but some pitchers probably shouldn't be hitting in the middle.
I know I wouldn't want to be. So.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Okay, what is one thing the MLB could do to maybe market to younger people? There seems to always be a struggle, the MLB losing the battle to maybe the NFL, the NBA. It might not be appealing to younger people. I mean, what do you think that could be done? Kind of a tough one.
Yeah. Honestly, besides just getting everything possible out on social media, for the younger crowd, you could probably do more, I don't know, Thursday nights, or add like some type of, something to get you to the ballpark. For me though, I don't know. It's tough because baseball is, to the ordinary person, more of a boring game, I guess you could say, just because there's not a lot of action that's super impactful all the time, like football or basketball, where it's going all the time. But then on the other side of things, if you do know baseball a little bit, or you are a fan of the game, baseball is the most intricate and most exciting sport to watch, just because there is so much happening in the game, if that makes sense. Like there is a game going on inside of the big game. And like, that's the pitcher's head, that's the coach's head, that's the hitter's head. Like that's understanding that there's all these little things happening in the big aspect of the game. So for me, I really don't know if there's much that could be done besides doing some fun things to get kids to the park, and the younger generation that gets to the park. Cause I think you either love baseball or you don't, because it is a pretty complex sport. And it's, unless you're understanding what's going on behind the scenes, it is just, you throw a pitch, you wait 30 seconds, then you throw another pitch and you hope for a double or a home run. Cause that's the exciting part of it, and a lot of people, especially with social media nowadays, like we like things to happen now. So like football happens now, basketball happens now, soccer's always moving. So besides like finding big ways, Thirsty Thursday nights, etc., stuff like that to get kids' butts in the seats. I think it's just kind of going to be you either love the game or you just go to have fun.
That's a good point, Logan. I think there is a huge problem of getting people in the seats for baseball. Like my wife, not a huge baseball fan, loves to go to games. I think there is something special about going to a major league baseball game or even a minor league game where it's fun to be in that atmosphere. I do think it's funny because you brought up like, pitch every 30 seconds.
Right.
I think that we've almost conditioned ourselves to believe at times that, NFL plays are constantly going, but there is almost a 30-second break between plays.
You're right.
Action. Now, maybe, okay, I'm going to do a throw, I'm going to run, play action, whatever. In football, there's a little more action per play. Pitch could be a ball or a strike, and that's it.
Right.
For the pitch. But the other two leagues, main leagues, NBA and NFL, I feel like they really do show highlights well and allow their fans to post those highlights, where the MLB will take them down. Their fans post them.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the MLB is really taking away highlights from fans' view. Anyway, I'm ranting a little bit here.
No, you're good.
But I'm upset. I feel like it's MLB's fault that the game is not growing due to them not wanting certain things to be shown, including like blackout regions where Mariners fans can even watch the games if they live in certain areas.
Yeah. No, and I can see that for sure. I think especially with football and basketball, like you said, you're always seeing highlights. You're always seeing action-packed things. And for people that live on the East Coast, a lot of them don't get to see Mike Trout play every night or Kyle Lewis play every night. Players like that, the exciting young players and that they can play. So if you don't have those highlights that are on social media after the game or on some type of social media platform after, then it's hard to see like, hey, Mike Trout really is the best player in the game, or Walker Buehler really does throw an unbelievable 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So it's hard to kind of see that stuff if you do live on the West Coast versus East Coast or East Coast versus West Coast. And if you don't have those highlights at your hand with social media, then you're never really going to see them.
That's a good point.
In the MLB is that they did one thing cool, at least at Safeco, the new camera angle last year, rolling down third when they're around. But I want to see camera angle on like an umpire's helmet to show the picture of how hard it is to hit a 90-mile-an-hour heater coming down the pipe.
Right.
It's cool stuff like that. It seems simple to implement, but maybe harder than obviously.
They tried to implement that a little bit last year. I saw a couple games. I don't know if it was on the umpire's helmet or the catcher's helmet. I think it was the umpire's helmet. And they do it in the College World Series. So I'm starting to see that more and more, which is really cool because I wanted to see that view too. And for a lot of the other fans, they want to see that, like what it's like to be in the box and stuff like that, So I started to see that a little bit. And that's a really good point that you bring up, because I think that's something that could really, fans could be like, hey, this is pretty cool. Not to watch the whole game in, but just every once in a while, for Oldest Chapman's pitching or something, kind of give you a glimpse of how it is being in the box against them.
Right. Yeah. Right.
With you as a fiery guy, savage on the mound, maybe we need to get you mic'd up on one of these pitching outings as well. Just get you mic'd up out there, Logan. We'll end up here, but just want to say thanks so much for coming on. We are rooting for you, man. Rooting for the minor league season to have a full season this year when you guys head down, hopefully on time. You got two lifelong fans right here. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you guys very much for having me. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you, and really thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. That's Logan Rinehart with the Seattle Mariners, starting pitcher, and he'll be reporting down to the Cactus League soon for the second spring training this season. Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, guys.